Patrick Haggerty here, Basin Youth for Christ from the Broadway Theater in Malin. We're in John chapter 6 today, and we're going to highlight Jesus' miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. And it says this: Jesus went up on a mountainside, verse 3, chapter 6, and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. But Philip answered him, "It would take more than a half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to even have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up and he said, "Hey, here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there, so that doesn't include women and children, so certainly over 10,000 people. Jesus then took the loaves, and he gave thanks, and he distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. And when they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, and let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them, and they filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. And this story today just reminds me of something rather simple that occurs in the middle of it. Jesus said, "Hey, let's get these people something to eat." And Philip makes the obvious conclusion, man, even if I had half a year's wage, right? We couldn't even get enough to let everybody just have a bite. But then Philip does something incredible. He brings a young boy, not Philip, but Andrew, brings a young boy to Jesus. And basically the boy has a sack lunch. His mom sent him out the door that day with, "Hey, here's a couple sardines and 5 wheat thins." Okay, it's not big French loaves of bread. It's little small snack bread and snack fish. It's a sack lunch. And he brings this boy with the sack lunch, and he says, "Well, Lord, we have this, but what good is this for so many?" And it reminds me of a principle that God displays for us over and over and over again in the Bible, and he explains to us. And that's just this, that God asks us to just bring what we have, to just give what we have to him, no matter how little it may seem to us. No matter how insignificant or insufficient it may seem to us, when we bring just what we have and we give it over to the Lord, then God takes that meager offering, that what seems so little, he blesses it, he breaks it, he multiplies it. And as you bring just yourself to the Lord and you offer him what you have, he will take your life and he'll use it to bless multitudes of people. Bring your life to Jesus. Just give him what you have, no matter how meager it may seem. And let the Lord take that, bless it, and multiply it for his glory. May the Lord bless you today.